Okay, so this is round 2 of the tournament that I played in on Saturday. I was riding kind of a high, having won my first game against an opponent rating about 150 points higher than me. And my round 2 opponent wasn't quite as high rated. This was only 100 points higher than me, so I still had a difficult game ahead of me. But he played it into a line that I was really familiar with. I was white and opened with d4 as always. So he played knight f6, and yeah, so I'm thinking, this could be lots of different things, right? It's flexible. It could go into a King's Indian. It could go into Nimzo. It could go into even Queen's Gambit declined. So I play c4, e6. Again, it looks more like a Nimzo or a QGD. So I played knight c3, not being afraid of the Nimzo. I had a good tournament result against the Nimzo last month. So I allow it, but he doesn't play it, actually. He goes d5. So he's a QGD player. And yeah, so I started this new opening repertoire a few months back on Chessable, where you can go in and they have whole repertoires for you just to memorize. And I started looking at this line, and for a long time I thought this the c takes d5 move was a mistake, just because it allows the black light square bishop to come out right after they take back. But there actually is some double-edgedness here, right? Because black only has the one pawn in the center after recapturing, and yeah, there's a lot of ideas here for white. And it turns out this bishop doesn't actually have a good home here if white follows the right idea with f3 and e4, right? Because all these squares are taken away. Yeah, so that's the plan here. The knight is not going to f3; it's going to e2. So that's the plan. So you play the bishop out. This is called the positional variation. He unpins, and I go e3, bishop e3, c6. We're following book here pretty closely. Knight e2, and then bishop g4 I think is kind of the first really big side line that's not played very often. So I played f3. I want to play f3 anyway. It helps make this knight look kind of funny, and it pushes his bishop back. And here I felt that I didn't really want to trade my light square bishop for his. So I played the move knight f4 to be able to have the bishop pair after bishop g6. So I take and he takes. So I'm the only one with a light square bishop. And the position is closed, relatively closed. And, we're both probably thinking about playing some pawn break here and improving our minor pieces. Obviously, this knight needs some help. My rooks need to be developed, and my queen needs to be developed. So those are the next things on the horizon. I go ahead and castle. He plays rook e8, and there's some ideas of this e3 pawn. So I keep my rook there, and he develops his last minor piece, and I put my other rook on the c file. So now he starts maneuvering his pieces around, and both of us do the same thing, actually. And basically what I'm doing is trying to maneuver my pieces into good positions so that this e4 break comes at the best possible moment. So he plays back there, and I'm also doing some prophylaxis as well. I think I play the move, both the move a3 and b4 to stop bishop here ideas and c5 ideas. So he plays this move, I guess, to trade dark square bishops. I wasn't too sad about that, right? So I take here. He takes with the rook, which surprised me, actually. I didn't see that coming. But it turns out to be a great idea. Once he moves his queen, it just helps the rooks become doubled up much more quickly than you would think would be normal. So I play the move queen c2, which I guess it's not ideal, but it's not terrible either. And I'll discuss why later. I kind of wish I'd played queen d2 here, because it turns out the queen isn't actually necessary to help support e4. It has enough support with the minor pieces and the pawns. So the queen would be better on the d file, where the d pawn would actually be where it would be defending the d pawn indirectly, or directly, as the case may be when the bishop moves. But okay, queen c2, kind of a waste of time because I ended up moving the queen again later. So I double up because he's doing the same, and he plays this move g5, which I didn't understand. I guess he's just, it's hard to find better position. I guess he wants to move his knight. I would think he would want to move his knight maybe somewhere. But this square doesn't look so good, right? Because of this and this. His knights are kind of stuck, right? So it's hard to find good moves for black here. But black's not worse. He's doing fine here. So I maneuver my knight around. I come up with this knight tour idea of coming here and maybe even into here. So yeah. So this was my idea with knight d1. He plays g6. Again, I'm not really sure what the plan was with these two pawn moves, but I guess he's just trying to do something rather than shuffling the same piece back and forth, for example. So again, the knight wants to come here and here, and he moves his knight back here to kind of put the brakes on that idea. I didn't want to go here and allow all these doubled pawns here, although. Yeah, no, I didn't like knight here first, but then I realized that the knight also supports e4 from here, so I think I just leave the knight here for a while. I play b4 just to stop this idea, and then he plays a6 again. He's just trying to find moves, waiting for me to play my active break e4. So he doesn't have much in the way to progress. He doesn't have really much to really help his position out, and I keep improving. So queen d2, I kind of wish I'd played that to begin with, and the whole issue I've been having with playing e4 is that after this pawn take, this pawn's hanging, right? So he plays his other knight to h7, no idea, and now bishop c2, and finally this d pawn is protected enough to play e4. So he plays his king up, I guess trying to improve his position, but now finally I have e4 and I'm ready, and it's the best move in the position according to the computer. So I play e4, and he plays a move that surprises me. This move wasn't even on my radar. He plays he takes, and then he plays queen f4. I did see that he was going to take, but queen f4 really surprised me. And I wasn't sure whether to trade queens here, to move my queen, to allow him to trade queens. It was all really rather confusing, and I'm I don't know. I felt good about my position, like I'd been feeling good about the position the whole day, like the whole game. Like I knew e4 was hard to stop, and once I have e4 with the d4 pawn sitting here, I have nice control of the center, and I just felt good about everything. But with the queen trade here, things became murky really quickly, especially because I played e5 too early, I think. I played e5, and that allows his knight to come in. Now, I did see that his knight was coming in, but I also saw that my knight was coming in, and I felt like my knight would be better because my knight can actually jump into d6, and yeah, it doesn't actually end up going to d6. I traded off, which was terrible, but yeah, it was one of my mistakes in the game for sure. So he plays knight d5, and then I play knight e4. So then he trades queens, and then he plays this move f6. And f6 surprised me. I didn't like the e file coming open, right? Because his rooks are still doubled there, and mine are not. So I didn't want my knight to be pinned or anything like that. So I tried to figure out a way to trade this off in a way that meant that my pieces were still fine. And I guess I saw that after taking with a pawn first and the knight takes back, my knight is pinned, right? But if I take with the knight first and he takes back, this pawn here comes with check. So I have to take back, and then I can deal with my rook. So that's what I did. The computer suggested knight d6, which was my intention all along. For some reason, after f6, I just was completely blindsided and did not see that knight d6 was a good idea here. I guess I felt that I needed to react to this move f6, which I guess was my mistake. It was one of my biggest mistakes in this game was not realizing that I did not have to react to f6, and probably something I should learn from. So I had my own plans of knight d6, and I completely let black sideline me here and distract me. And so now I had the centralized knight, and it's being traded for this outside terrible knight on h7, right? So yeah, this is bad. Okay, but in any case, I was sort of happy about pushing his king back, and once the rooks, like from this position, or at least from this position, I felt like once I traded one pair of rooks, I was more or less fine. Maybe I have a slightly better pawn structure. Maybe I don't. I mean, this pawn's weak, but both of these pawns are weak, right? So it could be argued that white has fewer weak pawns than black. But after this trade, actually, there's a lot of pressure. Black is actually threatening to win a piece with rook e1, check, takes, and then the knight fork. So this is serious. I had to deal with this. I saw this as soon as the position was reached, but back here when I was thinking about all these trades and what the position would look like after all this, I did not see that. I didn't see any of that when making these trades. So yeah, this ended up surprising me over the board when it was my move in this position. So I realized that he has this threat, and I tried to defend against it in a way that I guess wasn't ideal. I played g3, and what I was thinking here was that after king g2, my king has some breathing room, and the knight fork is more difficult to accomplish or whatever. But yeah, after king g2, he actually has this move that surprised me. I didn't see this at all. He played g4, and suddenly this knight check is actually a mate threat. So I find the best defensive move actually rook d2. I'm happy to have found that. And he plays a move now that simplifies the position, which I thought was a mistake. So he plays the knight in and king over, and he has to take my bishop or else he's losing material. So knight takes c2, rook takes c2, and his rook is active, and he's definitely got an advantage here, but I don't think it's as big as an advantage as it was with the knight centralized and protected, and putting a lot more pressure on me. But okay, I defended my pawn, he takes here, and I didn't want to get my king passive and stuck on the back rank to defend this pawn, so I had this idea of coming here and winning the g-pawn. So I played king here. So of course, he actually stops that, right? He doesn't have to take h2 immediately. So wisely, he plays g5 here, stopping my king from coming into f4. So I move my king up again, thinking that I can just go this way and do the same idea, but he stops that as well. And here, I wasn't really sure what to do, other than the fact that I liked the fact that my king was farther forward than his. So I just kept pressing with that, and he took my pawn. So here I definitely felt like I was, I'm down a pawn, but I didn't feel like I was that much worse. Just because my king is centralized and his extra pawn doesn't mean anything, it's not passed or anything. So, but I'm scared of losing more pawns, and I don't know. The computer says the best move here is actually king d6, trying to walk in on these queenside pawns. But over the board, of course, I did consider this. I was afraid of this getting in behind this pawn and just gobbling it up. There's no good way to defend, because after here he has this move. Although actually that's not the case, right? Here I can just take here with check. Oh, it's not check though. Yeah, that's why. Because it's not check though because of king d6. And yeah, he can take here with check later. But okay. Anyway, I didn't go for that. I decided to stop his move, rook d2, by playing my rook to d3. And now I felt like all of my weak pawns are defended, and now my king can go and run along the king side. And that was on the queen side and gobble up these pawns. And that was my plan. But then he surprised me again with this attack here. He wants to go to f3 now, forking my rook and pawn. And if I trade, then he's got a really fast runner. And that's going to become a queen. So I had to defend king e4. I think psychologically I would have been kind of devastated if he had let my king, for example, go to d6 and then played here, and then I'd have been like, oh no, what am I doing? Yeah, because then it would have been a pawn race. I would have had to take all of these and then go here while he's taking this pawn and going here, and that would have been exciting. But okay, he simplifies again, rook e2, and my king doesn't have any squares, right? My only legal move is actually rook e3, and I saw this in the game, but I didn't think that trading the rooks was bad for me. Again, because this looked like a drawn king pawn endgame, and it turns out it is a drawn king pawn endgame. But actually, the white side is more difficult to defend, and black has an easier game here. So I actually made a mistake at one point trying to defend this, and so yeah, we get this thing where I get the opposition. He goes king d6, and I felt like in order to keep the opposition, I needed to go here so that when he goes here, I go there. But the problem with that reasoning, actually, is that black has this tempo gainer move. a5, and I can't just let the stuff. I can't let it sit here, and I don't have a way to like respond to where he's not going to have his turn. It's not going to be. It's unavoidable that it's going to be my turn to move. So if I take and he takes back, then my king is here and his king is here, and I have to move one. I have to. None of my pawns can move, and I have to move my king and let his king in one direction or another. So I'll just put that in here because that's what I played, but he didn't find this move a5. So a5 here wins on the spot, and yeah, there's nothing I can do. I guess the best defense is just to go king c3. But yeah, if I go b5, then he takes and he has a passed pawn. If I take, he takes, and then he has the opposition. His king comes in one way or another. Yeah, and it's lights out. This is just a win for black. So he missed that, and I played here, and he played c5 instead. And here it's a draw, but again, it's more difficult to defend from the white side than it is the black. I take here, which is the right move, the only move. He goes here, I go here, only move. He has two moves here. You could either take my pawn or go c4 check. He takes, I take. And he has several moves here that draw, and I only have one move here, king c3. He has king c5, and I play b6. He takes it, I take it. He gets the opposition, I go here, and then he goes here, and then he offers a draw, and I agree. I was pretty sure that neither he nor I could win this, and I agreed that it was a draw, and we shook our hands. And at this point, in a game 45, both of us had between 1 and 2 minutes on our clock. We were down to the wire and used almost the entire length of the entire round. We were one of the last games to finish, and it was boy, there were a bunch of spectators because we were one of the last games to finish, and a couple of people didn't even understand why this was a draw because he has the extra pawn. But yeah, there's no way for him to break through, and there's no way for me to really break through in either of those. Even if I could eat one of these pawns, he'd be able to get the opposition, and I wouldn't be able to queen. So anyway, that's the second game. This game, oh man, the second game really wore me out. So after round 2, I beat someone 150 rating points higher than me, and then held a draw against someone who was rated over 100 points higher than me. So I was exhausted, and I couldn't believe that my round 3 game coming up next, I had to play like within the next 5 minutes. I was exhausted and just was not ready for this next game. And you might imagine what happened in the next game after this. But okay, that's this game, and I hope you enjoyed this watching this. I will post the third game shortly, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.